Hi, this is Kathy Sparling from the Ohlone College Library. With this tutorial, I want to demonstrate how you can incorporate content from library guides or Libguides into your Canvas course. So first, what are Libguides? A Libguide is an instructional guide created by librarians either for a specific course or more generally as a tutorial on a library tool or concept. All the Libguides our library has created are accessible from a link on our library homepage. To show you an example of what a LibGuide looks like, here is one created for an English 101A class that introduces students to the process of doing research for this particular course. This guide outlines how to begin the research process, how and why to evaluate websites, how to effectively search for articles, and how to properly cite sources. So the general idea here is that there are entire guides like this one, or particular chunks of content from guides, such as pages or content boxes, that you might want to integrate into your course. And this tutorial is going to show you how to do that. I should mention that there are at least a couple of good ways to do this integration into Canvas. You have options depending on how you structure your course content. I'm going to demonstrate two different approaches so you can see what this looks like first if you decide to include LibGuides content by creating a module within your course. The module approach seems like the best and clearest way to present a lot of information related to a library research assignment. In case you aren't using modules in your course or just want to include a small bit of content on other pages or assignments in your course, I will also show you how to do this just using the HTML editor built into all the Canvas content editors. So I'm going to start by taking a look at how this embedded content will appear to students within Canvas. I'm looking here in the student view at a library research assignment module that I've created. And now the scope of this tutorial doesn't allow for me to go into much detail about how to use Canvas modules in general, how to set them up or best organize them. But I will note here that the reason I think this is a good way to present a library research assignment is that you can really structure the student's experience of the assignment by setting up prerequisites from one module to another or requirements within a module. I have requirements set up here so that students have to start at the beginning. You can see how all of these items are grayed out. So the students can't, for example, just submit their paper without having worked through these other module items. They have to, for example, at least view the requirements for the assignment. And then once they've done that, they can move on to the next part of the module and then on to the next one and so on. So if they view their project requirements here, their assignment requirements, then they can move to the tutorial, which is the next required element on evaluating sources. And this is actually our first bit of embedded LibGuides content. In this case, an entire LibGuide, one called Evaluating Sources 101, which has been embedded into this Canvas module. And there's navigation within the tutorial, so they can hopefully access the whole thing, and then when they've done that, they can move on to the next part of the module, either by using the next button, or if they just go back to modules, they find themselves back at the list of items in the module, where it now shows that they have viewed two required elements. And then they're guided to view the Citing Sources tutorial, which again is an entire LibGuide embedded here covering the how and why of citation. And if they return to their module, now they actually are able to move on to submitting their paper, but there are other tools that are built in here to help them with this assignment. So both of these are examples of content boxes down here, or smaller standalone elements rather than full guides that you can embed from LibGuides. So selecting the link to find books and articles, for example, leads to a search box that directly searches our online catalog. They can also link to Discovery Search from here, and Discovery Search again is the tool that searches across all of our article databases and our online catalog at once. Or they can go from here to the library's homepage to start their research. And of course, the purpose of embedding this library search right into Canvas is to help the students find reliable scholarly sources. A second module item here takes them to an interface where they can ask a librarian for research assistance at their point of need when they're working on their research. This form will send a question off to our question system, and the librarian will get back to them in email. Like the search box, this question form is a LibGuide content box that you can embed anywhere just as a standalone element, anywhere in your course, or included as I have done here within this more extensive module. So let's look now at how you build this LibGuides content into your modules. We're leaving the student view so we can edit our module. And we'll look first at how to embed a complete LibGuide, as in the case of adding the Evaluating Sources 101 tutorial or the Citing Sources tutorial. Or remember, the librarians can work with you to create an entire LibGuide customized for your class, which you could then embed in its entirety. So to embed an entire LibGuide, you will need to add it as an item in this module, which you add items in the module by clicking on the plus sign up towards the top there. And when you do that, when you're adding an item to a module, they want to know first what kind of item it is you want to add to the module. Often this is where you add an assignment or a quiz or a content page. In this case, to add LibGuides content, we're adding something from an external tool. And when we select that, we get a choice of available external tools. Incidentally, this is where I can embed a film from our Films on Demand streaming media collection. But the LibApps library content is what we're looking to add in this case. So we select that and get some more drop-down menu choices. And the first thing it wants to know is which LibGuide site am I looking for content from? There's only one choice here. It's the Ohlone one. So then for content type, we're integrating an entire guide here, a full LibGuide, so I'm going to select that. And then for this example, we'll say that we want to embed the Citing Sources and Avoiding Plagiarism guide. This listing includes all the available LibGuides. So remember, if you had a whole guide created for your course, you could find it on this list. But in this case, we are selecting the more prefab generic content. We don't need to set an optional landing page. We can leave that blank. And then we select embed content and add item, and there it is. It'll be down at the bottom. So we can drag it up. We can organize the items as we add them into the module. Here I will just indent it and publish it, and there it is. So that's the procedure to use to embed a full guide, and you could do that same procedure for embedding the Evaluating Sources tutorial or your own entire LibGuide or any other full LibGuide that you chose to embed. And next we'll look at how to add individual elements from LibGuides rather than entire guides. The examples we looked at for this approach were a library search box and also the form that allows your students to connect directly with a librarian. So again, we're going to add an item. Again, we're going to select External Tool. Again, we come to this listing of available external tools and we select LibApps, library content. As before, for site, there's always just the one choice. For content type, this time we're adding a content box instead of a full guide. And the content box is located on a guide that we've set up for exactly this reason, for just this one purpose, to provide content for faculty to include in their courses. The guide is named A+ Library Content, so it will float up to the top of this alphabetical list of guides here. Select that as the guide, and then for the guide page, there's just one choice. It's the home page, and finally you want to select the box that you want. So in this case, you could include the search box that I showed you earlier, or the Ask a Librarian form, or other content as we add it to this guide in the future. I'll go with the search box in this case and select Embed Content, and then add that item. And there it is down at the bottom. So notice that it gave this item a kind of an unwieldy name, including the name of the guide page it came from. So you can rename it to anything you want by editing that item and its name. Like any module item, you can also indent it and drag it up wherever you want it in your modules and publish it to make it visible. You could follow the same technique I just demonstrated to add an Ask a Librarian form. Okay, so we've seen how to embed LibGuides content into the modules, and we'll look next at the slightly different procedure for how to embed content if you are not using modules or if you just want to embed something onto a content page. So here next we'll see an example where a library research assignment is set up not as a module, but just as a standalone page. So let's take a look at a page. And for the purposes of this demonstration, I've got everything related to the assignment embedded onto this one somewhat busy page. So the Ask a Librarian a Question form is embedded here, and a search box can be right on the page, and the tutorials can be right on the page. And if this is a little bit too cluttered of a presentation for you, so there's our search box and our tutorial. So it guides the student through the different elements here, but if it's too cluttered of a display for you, these could all be separate pages. There are many, many different ways that you could structure this and organize this material depending on how important of an assignment this is for your class, how much information you want to include. But the basic approach to adding Libguides content to any page is the same, and we'll look at that now as we edit this page. So we'll go up to Edit, and I'm going to take out the embedded content here so that we can put it back in, what we just saw. If you wanted to put in the Ask a Librarian form on your page, for example, here we are just in the standard Canvas page editing interface. And what you want to do is look for this little drop-down arrow that's labeled More External Tools, the little blue arrow there. So if I click on that arrow, I get a few other options, but what we're looking for, as before, is the LibApps library content option. And then from here, this should all look familiar. These are the same drop-down choices we went through before. There's only one choice for the LibGuide, and we're putting in the research help box, so it's a content box. It's a content box on this page of resources, which again we hope to grow as we find more things that might be useful to include there. And as before, there's only one page, the home page. And then we're selecting the Ask a Librarian box here. And then finally we'll select Embed Content. And it won't look too promising until we save the page, but then that content is there on that page and visible and ready to use. And the More External Tools icon is available anywhere that the Canvas HTML editor is, so you can use this technique to embed content on pages, assignments, and an announcement, anywhere the More External Tools icon is found. So we can go ahead and add the search box just to see this technique once again. We're on the toolbar, we're selecting More External Tools, then the LibApps library content, always just the one choice here for the site. We're adding a content box. It's a content box from the library content page, which is again just a container for useful content you might want to embed. There's only one page, home, and the box is the one called Find Books and Articles. And then we click to embed, and the search tool content is right there in your page when you save it. So we've seen a couple of different approaches to embedding Libguides content into Canvas. Please let us know if you run into trouble implementing any of this. You can contact me, Kathy Sparling, in the Fremont Library with your questions. If you would like a customized guide for your subject area, contact one of the librarians and we can help you get that started. And in this final example, just to close, an entire customized library research tutorial for chemistry is embedded as a full guide within a Canvas page. Go ahead and bring that up. And librarians would be happy to work with you too to make good content specifically for your course, or assist you with embedding the already existing more generic content. Thank you for watching.